Welcome to Raving Ryan. I'm your host, Ryan Anastasio. Today I have a very special guest, United States Senator from Connecticut, Richard Blumenthal. Senator, how are you? Thanks for coming on.
Thank you, Ryan. Good to be with you.
You've served in many positions in government, including as a U.S. Attorney, State Senator, Attorney General, and now you're a U.S. Senator. Can you tell me what position you've enjoyed most serving in?
That is a really tough question. You know, serving as U.S. Attorney was an absolutely wonderful job because I had the opportunity to try criminal as well as civil cases and to make a difference using the law to stop crime. And then as Attorney General, I was an elected official rather than appointed.
Yeah.
So I had more control over my future, and I ran a number of times, served for 20 years, and I tried cases there too, but really more civil cases rather than criminal cases. But again, the ability to use the law to make a difference. And the job I have now enables me to make law rather than enforce it. And that's a great thrill and an opportunity to serve people and still make a difference in their lives.
And do you feel the State Senate prepared you to being a U.S. Senator well?
The State Senate did educate me a lot in the legislative process and how to form coalitions and enlist people in causes that would matter to their lives.
Yeah, and following the shooting last week at Major E. Stoneman Douglas High School in Parkland, Florida, that killed 17 people, you said that the way to change gun violence in America is through elections. Can you elaborate on this more for me and tell me why there is no solution right now?
A few points. First of all, no solution right now because of the vice-like grip that the NRA and the gun lobby have on the Congress. Partly it's by virtue of their campaign contributions, partly because of fear of the NRA and the gun lobby, and that's why elections are so important. We need to show candidates and elected officials and the people of America that voters will come to the polls as single-mindedly focused on gun violence as the opponents, like the NRA sponsored and supported candidates do. And that's why elections are so important.
What are you going to do? What are the solutions going to be once these people get elected?
There are common sense solutions that work, as we know from Connecticut, where some of those solutions have been tried. Background checks on all sales, a ban on assault weapons that are used as weapons of war. Literally, their only purpose is to kill people. That's why they were used in Columbine and Sandy Hook, and most recently Parkland and many other mass shootings.
Would you want to ban the AR-15?
Not ban it because there are a lot of them out there and we would have to somehow bring them back, but ban the sale of new ones and maybe offer people incentives to rid themselves of these weapons of war, which are really so prevalent in the mass slaughters, and also, Brian, a ban on sales of high-capacity magazines, which are integral to the mass shootings because they enable people to shoot 30 or more rounds without reloading.
Yes, such as a bump stock.
The bump stock ban is important. It was used in Las Vegas. It converts a semi-automatic to an automatic.
So do you think a ban on that, would you be in favor of that?
A ban on bump stocks I've supported.
Yeah. Is there support in the Senate?
I've supported legislation, and there is actually bipartisan support in the Senate for that measure and for improving the current background check system, which only covers a part of the sales, but still it could be improved if reporting of criminal convictions is improved.
Yeah, and like you said, we really do need to make sure people are reporting things because the shooter, he owned the gun legally, but he was posted on YouTube and on Instagram things that raised a red flag, and there was people that reported it. So do you think there needs to be a review in the FBI to make sure that when these things are reported, they get the full attention that's needed?
The FBI certainly is scrutinizing itself, and deservedly so, but here's something that's very important, right? What we have in Connecticut is a law that is called the Extreme Risk Protection Order Law. If somebody is an extreme risk by virtue of some emotional or mental illness that is so severe that they pose a danger to themselves or others, a court officer, a policeman, can go to the court and say, we need a warrant and an order to take guns away from this person. And it's been used in many, many cases. In half of those cases, people have actually sought psychiatric treatment, or they have been designated for it. So I think spreading awareness about that law throughout the country to other states so that we can take guns out of the hands of dangerous people is very important.
Okay, and I'm going to read the president's response. On February 17th, he sent out this tweet. Very sad that the FBI missed all the many signals sent out by the Florida school shooter. This is not acceptable. They're spending too much time trying to prove Russian collusion with the Trump campaign. There is no collusion. Get back to the basics and make us all proud. This tweet came after a special counsel Robert Mueller's indictment Friday of 3 Russian companies and 13 Russian nationals for engaging in an effort to interfere in the 2016 presidential election. I do want to say these indictments do not prove any collusion between the campaigns, just interference in the elections. Senator, what was your reaction to this indictment and the way that the president responded to it?
Well, first of all, my reaction to that tweet was utter disbelief and dismay, because he's trying to fault the FBI for working on the investigation into the Russian attack on our democracy, which it has a responsibility to do, somehow with the failure to identify the shooter.
Yeah, they're two separate issues.
They're totally separate. They're completely distinct. The FBI has a responsibility to do both, but one did not detract from the other. And on the indictments, they are an absolutely astonishing and appalling, detailed account of the Russians' attack, an act of war. They called it informational warfare on our democracy. Whether or not eventually the Trump campaign is proven to have colluded, and the indictments draw no conclusion on that point, the Russian attack on our democracy cannot be denied after the detailed, amazingly broad series of criminal actions involving money laundering, false identity, identity theft, violation of election laws. They sent people into our country to identified states to try to start rallies and gain information. It was an act of espionage damaging our country.
Yeah, and they were here and they were supporting rallies for both for Donald Trump and Hillary Clinton. But there's been a lot of talk of possible collusion between the Trump campaign and Russia. Do you have any evidence of any collusion?
There is evidence of collusion. Now, let's be clear. The indictments say the purpose of their interference was to support Trump and disparage, they use that word in the indictments, Hillary Clinton. So clearly, the purpose was to help Trump at the expense of Clinton. As to evidence of collusion, well, here are a few pieces. The meeting at Trump Tower on June 9th, 2016, came about because Donald Trump Jr., President's son, was offered dirt on Hillary Clinton. And what was his reaction? I love it. He came to the meeting along with the campaign chairman, Paul Manafort, and the president's son-in-law, Jared Kushner. They were expecting dirt that they knew would come from the Russians on Hillary Clinton. Another piece of evidence. George Papadopoulos, a member of the president's Foreign Advisory Council, Foreign Affairs Council. He was meeting with, literally, people in the foreign ministry of Russia while he was an advisor. So there are a series of pieces of evidence. Maybe they're not conclusive proof at this point. That will be for the special counsel to determine, and for the Judiciary Committee, where I sit in the Senate, as to whether there was collusion and whether there was then obstruction of justice by the president.
And do you know when the special counsel is going to finish up and give his full report? When do you think that's going to be?
Nobody knows. My guess is the special counsel doesn't know.
And the president has gone after President Obama recently, saying that he should have done something about the Russian meddling because he was president during the election. Do you agree with that?
You know, President Obama was in a difficult situation. His ultimate conclusion was that talking publicly about the Russian attack, which he knew was ongoing, would be seen as overtly political, done to favor Hillary Clinton. He had to make that judgment. There was an investigation by the FBI underway. They were trying to determine what the extent was of Russian interference. At that point, they knew a lot less than we know now. So President Obama perhaps could have been more aggressive and more public. It was a judgment call.
Yeah.
But at this point, the focus really has to be on stopping the Russians from doing it again. They are doing it right now. They will do it again in 2018. They have plans to do it again. And the only way to stop them is to take action that applies sanctions and other measures to stop their use of bots and automated fake accounts that enable them to spread discord and cause real conflict as well as chaos.
Yeah, and one thing we really need here in Connecticut is work on our infrastructure. Our highways need a lot of work, bridges, and a lot of other things. And President Trump has talked about it. He has an infrastructure plan, and it supposedly has bipartisan support. Is infrastructure going to come up this year, and do you think we will see a plan passed this year?
I've been pressing for infrastructure programs since Donald Trump was elected.
Yeah.
And I think he would have been really well advised to make that his first priority, because infrastructure creates jobs, drives economic progress. I certainly hope we will have an infrastructure program, because look around Connecticut. We have decaying roads and highways. We have ports and airports that need rebuilding. We have broadband and VA facilities that need capital investment. Yeah. And that's what infrastructure investment should do. But what Donald Trump has proposed is a fantasy, magical thinking. You know what he's proposed? $1 trillion. But not really. It's only $200 billion that the federal government would provide, supposedly would trigger private and state investment worth a trillion. Well, every economist agrees that's magical thinking.
So do you have another plan so that we can fix our bridges and highways here in Connecticut?
I have a plan, and so does the Democratic caucus in the Senate. It is for $1.5 trillion, but it is real money, and it would involve real investment, money from an infrastructure bank, money from closing loopholes in our tax code, which were not closed during the tax reform measure, other sources of real money that can be invested and create real jobs.
Yeah. You and the president have had a lot of disagreements, and he's gone after you on Twitter on multiple occasions. And he's gone after many Democratic senators and people on the Democratic side. Do you think you and your Democratic lawmakers, they don't have too good of a relationship with the president? Do you think that's going to hurt your ability to work with him?
We have worked with the president on areas where we agree, on appointing judges and the U.S. Attorney here in Connecticut. My door is open to any area. For example, on the VA, Veterans Affairs, I've proposed measures that have actually been adopted. The president has signed them. They help veterans. That's a bipartisan cause. The Senate has just passed a measure that will prevent animal cruelty and torture, passed unanimously in the United States Senate. It goes to the House. I hope they will pass the PACT Act, and I hope the president will sign it. What could be more bipartisan? So I'm ready, willing, and able to work with the president. He can't govern by personal insult and invective. It fails to bring people together. If he wants to be the divider-in-chief rather than the commander-in-chief, unfortunately, he'll get less done. And ultimately, the ones who suffer are the American people. So I reach across the aisle. I take every opportunity to try to work with my Republican colleagues.
Yeah, and speaking of working with Republican colleagues, in the past, like 20 or 30 years ago, it happened a lot more, and Republicans and Democrats got along more than they do now. Do you have a lot of Republican friends in the Senate, and can you name some of them?
I have a lot of Republican friends in the Senate. I hope they consider me friends. For example, Jerry Moran, who is a Republican from the state of Kansas, he and I worked together on the Consumer Protection Subcommittee of the Commerce Committee. He's the chairman of that subcommittee. I'm the ranking member. And we work very closely together. Johnny Isaacson and I on the Veterans Affairs Committee are friends. We consider, in fact, our wives are friends. So those are examples of the friendships. Roy Blunt, Republican from Missouri, his wife Abby and my wife Cynthia are friends. We see Republicans socially. We have friendships. But the main point to keep in mind is we can disagree without hating each other. And we get along. We can disagree agreeably, which is what should happen, whether it's Democrats or Republicans disagreeing with each other.
Yeah, and you go on TV a lot. You're on CNN and MSNBC a lot, but we don't see you on Fox News a lot. So I was wondering, do you get invited on Fox News a lot?
I wish I were. I would do it.
Yeah, because Jim, I wanted to see if you would take the risk, because Jim Himes has been on a lot, and he goes in there, and it's tough for him. So will you go if you're invited?
Absolutely.
Yeah, and I'm going to finish up with some personal questions. You're working in the Senate, it's a lot of time, but do you have any other hobbies?
I believe in staying fit, so I swim, I exercise on the elliptical, and I guess my main hobby, if you want to call it a hobby, my main focus, besides my work, is my family, my children, who are all out of the house. They finished college, but they have their own careers now. They come to me for advice. I love being with them. I try to be available when they are free, because now they have lives of their own, and I have to accommodate myself to their schedules.
Yeah, I'm really going to put you on the spot here. Connecticut is really well known for its pizza restaurants. Some people call it Connecticut Pizza Heaven. Do you have a favorite pizza restaurant in the state?
You know, that's one I'm not going to answer.
Some favorites? You don't have any? Come on.
I have favorites. Let me put it this way.
You want to upset anyone?
I love a pizza, Sally's, and Pepe's. Those are my favorites. It would be hard to choose between them.
You don't have a favorite?
I can't say that I really have a favorite. It's like asking, do you have a favorite child? We have 4 children. Which is your favorite? I would never come close to that question.
All right, and I want to finish up with 2020, there's going to be an election for president. There's going to be a lot of candidates. Would you ever consider running for president?
Almost certainly not. Right. I love the job I have now, and I want to continue doing it.
All right, Senator, thanks for coming on. It was so great having you.
Great to be with you, Ryan. Great job.
Thank you. Thank you for watching. If you're watching this on YouTube, go to my website, ravingryan.com. Follow Senator Blumenthal on Facebook, Twitter, and follow me on Twitter at ravingryan1 and on Facebook. Thank you for watching. Reporting for Raving Ryan, I'm Ryan Anastasio.